am 76 years old, and there is one sentence I have avoided saying out loud for most of my life. I ignored my mother's last phone call. Not because I didn't love her, not because we were fighting. I ignored it because I was busy and because I believed I would have another chance. That belief followed me quietly for decades, and it is the reason I am speaking now. The phone rang on a Tuesday afternoon. I remember that detail clearly because Tuesdays were always heavy for me. Meetings stacked back to back, emails waiting, deadlines that felt urgent in the way only work can feel urgent. I saw my mother's name on the screen and felt a brief tightening in my chest. I told myself I would call her back later. I always did. Later had worked every other time. My mother was not a dramatic woman. She did not call often, and when she did, it was usually for small things. She wanted to tell me about a neighbor, or ask if I had eaten, or remind me of a birthday I already knew. Her calls were gentle interruptions, not emergencies. That is important because it made ignoring them feel harmless. I let the phone ring until it stopped. I remember setting it face down on my desk, as if turning it over would quiet the feeling I didn't want to examine. I finished the meeting. I answered the emails. I drove home. By the time evening came, the moment had passed, and I told myself I would call her in the morning. Morning felt responsible. Morning felt planned. The call never happened. She died that night, alone in her kitchen, hours after I decided my work mattered more than her voice. The doctors said it was sudden. They said she probably didn't feel much pain. They said these things as if they were meant to comfort me. They did not. For a long time, I told myself the truth didn't matter. She was going to die anyway. My call wouldn't have saved her. These statements are technically correct and completely useless. What mattered was not whether I could change the outcome. What mattered was that she reached for me, and I chose not to answer. My mother raised me alone after my father died. She worked jobs that never came with titles or praise. She packed lunches, waited up when I was late, and learned to live with worry as a permanent condition. She never complained about what she gave up. She just adjusted. I mistook that adjustment for strength, and later, for availability. As I grew older, my life expanded, and hers grew smaller. I had responsibilities, ambitions, places to be. She had routines and memories. I told myself this was natural. Children move forward, parents stay behind. That story allowed me to feel normal instead of guilty. The truth is, I was not cruel to my mother. I visited on holidays. I sent money when she needed it. I checked in occasionally. I did all the things that look good from a distance. What I did not do was show up consistently. I treated her presence like something stable and permanent, like furniture that would always be in the room. When she called that last time, I did not think it was important because nothing seemed wrong. That is how most regrets begin. They arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary moments. There was no sense of urgency, no warning that time had narrowed to a single decision. The truth is simple and difficult. Love is not measured only by intention. It is measured by presence. It is measured by whether you answer when someone reaches for you. My mother did not need a long conversation that day. She needed to hear my voice. I denied her that, not out of malice, but out of habit. Habits shape lives more than moments of crisis. I had built a life where work interruptions were treated as emergencies and family interruptions were treated as inconveniences. I did not decide that. It happened slowly, through repetition, through choosing the same thing again and again until it felt natural. In the weeks after her funeral, I replayed that afternoon endlessly. I imagined answering the phone. I imagined saying nothing important. I imagined hanging up and returning to my meeting. Even in my imagination, the call was ordinary. That is what makes it unbearable. It would have cost me almost nothing, and it would have meant everything to her. I am telling you this because most people believe regret comes from dramatic mistakes. It does not. The deepest regrets come from small, reasonable choices that feel justified at the time. Choices that seem harmless because they are familiar. If you are listening to this and thinking your situation is different, that your life is busier, that you will make time later, I understand that thinking intimately. It kept me comfortable for years. It allowed me to delay attention without feeling irresponsible. It allowed me to believe love could wait. It cannot. Time does not announce when it is about to become final. People do not call to say this is the last chance. They call the same way they always have, and you decide whether to answer based on what feels urgent to you in that moment. I am not asking you to abandon your responsibilities. I am asking you to notice what you treat as interruptible. I am asking you to notice who you assume will always be there. Those assumptions are fragile and they break without warning. When I ignored my mother's last phone call, I was not choosing against her. I was choosing for the life I had built. That life rewarded efficiency, focus, and availability to everyone except the person who had been available to me my entire childhood. This is the first part of my story. The second part explains what happens after silence becomes permanent. Slowly, after my mother died, life did not collapse the way people expect grief to behave. It continued. That surprised me. I woke up, went to work, ate meals, answered messages. The world did not pause to acknowledge what I had lost, and in a way, neither did I. Grief settled in quietly. Like dust you do not notice until it has covered everything. For a long time, I focused on practical matters, arrangements, paperwork, sorting through her small apartment. These tasks gave me something to do with my hands, something that did not require me to sit with the truth. Avoidance can look productive if you dress it up correctly. Her kitchen was clean when I entered it for the last time. A cup was still on the counter. The phone sat where she always kept it. I stared at that phone longer than I should have. I wondered how long she had waited after I didn't answer. I wondered if she thought I was busy or if she thought I was gone. Those questions have no answers, and they are heavy to carry. People told me she would have understood. They said mothers know their children are busy. They said she loved me and would not have blamed me. These statements were meant to ease my pain, but they missed the point entirely. My regret was not about blame. It was about absence. It was about the moment when I could have been there and chose not to be. As months passed, I noticed something unsettling. The memory of her voice began to fade. I could remember what she said often, but not how she sounded when she said it. I strained to recall the rhythm of her speech, the way she pronounced my name. That frightened me more than the day she died. Death was sudden. Forgetting was gradual. That is when the weight of the missed call truly settled in. It was not only the last conversation I lost, it was the chance to anchor her presence one more time in my memory. One more ordinary exchange that could have lived inside me when everything else disappeared. I began answering my phone compulsively after that. Every call felt urgent. Every ring carried the echo of that Tuesday afternoon. But answering strangers did not repair what I had broken. It only highlighted how irreplaceable certain voices are and how foolish it is to treat them casually. I started calling people I had postponed, old friends, distant relatives, not with speeches or apologies, but with simple questions. How are you? What's new? I listened more than I spoke. Some conversations were awkward, some felt overdue, some reminded me that time does not rewind simply because you are ready. With my own children, I changed in small, deliberate ways. I stopped multitasking when they spoke. I let conversations run longer than was efficient. I resisted the urge to rush. They noticed, though they never said anything directly. Change does not announce itself. It accumulates quietly, the same way distance does. What I learned too late is that availability is a form of love that cannot be substituted. You cannot replace presence with explanations. You cannot make up for missed moments with intentions. People remember how you made them feel when they reached for you. Everything else fades. If my mother were here now, I would not give a speech. I would not try to justify myself. I would answer the phone. I would let her talk about whatever she wanted. I would stay until the conversation ended naturally, without watching the clock. That is all she ever asked for. I do not believe regret exists to punish us. I believe it exists to teach those who are still in a position to choose differently. That is why I am telling this story publicly, even though it exposes something I would rather hide. Silence protects comfort. Honesty protects no one except those who listen. If your phone rings and it is someone you love, answer it if you can. If you cannot, call back sooner than feels necessary. Do not assume the moment will repeat itself. Ordinary moments are fragile. They become precious only after they are gone. You will not remember most emails you answered. You will not remember most meetings you attended, but you will remember the voices you lost and the calls you did not take. Those memories last longer than productivity ever will. I am 76 years old now. I have lived long enough to see how quickly roles reverse, how children become busy and parents become interruptions. I understand how easy it is to believe you are doing your best while slowly drifting away from what matters. This is not a story about guilt. It is a story about attention, about what you protect when life demands something from you, about who you treat as permanent and who you treat as flexible. Those distinctions shape your future whether you acknowledge them or not. When I ignored my mother's last phone call, I did not know it was final. That is exactly the point. Finality hides inside normalcy. It does not warn you. It waits for you to assume there will be another chance. If this story unsettles you, let it. Discomfort is often the first signal that something needs to change. Do not scroll past it. Do not tell yourself you will think about it later. Later is a promise no one can guarantee. Answer the call. Make the call. Sit longer. Listen fully. These actions are small, but their absence is permanent. I learned that the hard way. I ignored my mother's last phone call because I thought time was generous. It is not. Time is precise, unforgiving, and quiet. Use it carefully.